There's an article in Scientific American about psychedelic drugs and their medicinal properties, and I thought it was really interesting. They make some great points in the article. They say, quote, almost immediately after Albert Hofmann discovered the hallucinogenic properties of LSD in the 1940s, research on psychedelic drugs took off. These consciousness-altering drugs showed promise for treating anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and addiction, but increasing government conservatism caused a research blackout that lasted decades. So right off the bat, this is already mind-blowing to a lot of people. The idea that these drugs, which a lot of people just out of hand consider, no, there's no value to it whatsoever, what the scientists are saying is, whoa, that's not true at all. They could have great medicinal properties, but because the government started cracking down, and we have this, just say no mindset in all cases, even for research, well, that's a problem. Now there's this gigantic hole in the research, and we're behind on finding cures or helping the causes that we just named and the problems that we just named, like addiction, depression, anxiety, obsessive-compulsive, etc., etc. But the good news is this, quote, lately, however, there has been a resurgence of interest in psychedelics as possible therapeutic agents. This past spring, Swiss researchers published results from the first drug trial involving LSD in more than 40 years. So they go on to explain, and actually Raw Story had some articles about this recently as well. Every time they study one of these drugs, it has overwhelmingly positive effects. Now, here's the most frustrating aspect about this in the United States. These drugs are categorized as the worst of the worst, okay? They say they're addictive and destructive, etc., etc. They don't say anything good about them. And the amazing thing is that these drugs are specifically not that. Okay, they're not addictive, they're not destructive, but they're a Schedule 1 anyway, and some of them are Schedule 2, which, again, under law means that there's no value to them whatsoever. And here's the problem, quote, the DEA and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration maintain that there is insufficient research, to justify recategorization of the drugs. This stance creates a catch-22 by basing the decision on the need for more research while limiting the ability of scientists to conduct that research. So because it's Schedule 1, you're not allowed to research. But what they say is, that's right, these may or may not be not as bad as we say, and we need more research to prove that, but you're not allowed to research it because it's a Schedule 1, so you can't research it. Sorry. Anyway, moving on. How stupid is that? That's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. So now, let's listen to two comedians, and also some pretty smart dudes, if you ask me, Joe Rogan and Duncan Trussell, explain what they felt when they took one of these psychedelic or hallucinogenic drugs. Specifically, they took DMT, or dimethyltryptamine. And let's listen to them so we can get an idea of what some people say these drugs actually do.
You take this shit and literally you are transported into another fucking dimension. I don't mean like you feel like you're in another dimension. I mean like you're in another dimension. You're in another dimension where there's no furniture, bro. There's fucking complex geometric patterns moving in synchronous order through the air all around you in three-dimensional space. And it's like they're arteries, except there's not blood pumping through them. There's fucking lights, pulsating lights with no boundaries, and you can't really understand it. And there's an alien communicating with me. And there's a dude who looks like sort of like a Thai Buddha, except he's made entirely of energy, and there's no like outline to him. He's just one thing, and he's concentrating on it, and he's trying to tell me not to give in to astonishment. Just relax and try to experience this. And I'm like, you gotta be fucking shitting me. And I'm a stand-up comedian, because as a stand-up comedian, we pride ourselves in being able to describe things. So I'm like, how the fuck am I gonna talk about this? Because this is insane. Because there's like a beat, it's like, and there's all these fucking complex patterns moving around, and this guy's looking at me in the eye, and I am fucking freaking out. And it lasts for about 5 minutes. Everybody in their life, if you live, you know, and you haven't had a heavy psychedelic experience and you haven't gone in an isolation tank, you've missed out. You've missed out on a huge chunk of what life really is. Life is a massive fucking mystery, and there's only a few different ways to really crack below the surface of that mystery, and the best way is psychedelics. And the heavier the psychedelic, the better. And guess what? No one's dying from psychedelics. All our thoughts on psychedelics are all based on bullshit propaganda that we heard about people, you know, going crazy or losing their minds on. You're not going to go crazy. You're going to go fucking sane.
There's more of just like the observer of this beautiful sort of like warping sense. But you don't want to look out at the world. You close your eyes, and that's when you go into this just matrix of pre-creation. This kind of like pre-existent state of perfection that is somehow manifesting as us, as humanity. And it's just so tranquil and beautiful and peaceful and perfect and loving.
So I was skeptical about explanations like that because it's like hippie, out of it, not in connection with anything I've ever known or related to, / oh, I'm so deep, bro, explanations. And I'm still somewhat skeptical of stuff like that. But here's what I know for sure. Whether or not there's something incredibly deep or you're connecting with another dimension or anything like that going on, which, again, you guys know me, I'm a hardcore, you know, atheist, agnostic, and I'm only believe in evidence and proof and stuff like that. So whether or not that's happening, though, is irrelevant because they feel as if it is happening. And the bottom line is when you're dealing with psychological or psychiatric and mind issues and disorders, all that matters is that you have people who feel as if something is happening with their mind. Doesn't matter if you're actually connecting to, you know, some other universe or there's some insanely deep transformation of knowledge going on. And again, I am skeptical of stuff like that because it just doesn't make any sense to me. Even theoretically, I don't get it, right? But that doesn't matter. The point is, as long as people who, and Joe Rogan and Duncan Trussell, they're fairly smart dudes. I know Joe Rogan, he's, you know, I listen to his podcast. He's not, you know, some sort of, I'm looking to be spiritual dude, right? So for him to describe it that way and for him to say, no, it does something to you that's deep and that's real and that it could help with X, Y, and Z. Well, that means something. That means something. And look, for me to say that also means something because for people who listen to the show, they know this is the one group of drugs that I'm massively biased against. I haven't taken hallucinogens, and I'm scared as fuck to take hallucinogens. I don't even want to take them, like LSD, mushrooms, DMT, ayahuasca, ibogaine, all these different things. It's not, I like the prospect, I love drugs, but the idea of going up, so taking an upper or taking a downer and tweaking your mood, yeah, all for it. I'll sign up and do that right now. And that's cool, but the idea of like seeing things that aren't there or entering another dimension in terms of feelings that you have, that scares me to death. So for a guy who's biased against them to admit that, look, this may be very useful in treating addiction, in treating post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, anxiety, obsessive-compulsive disorder, etc., that fucking means something. And again, it doesn't even matter if I believe it because the researchers believe it, and they're the ones who are the experts in the field. And there's clearly something to this. That's the point. Regardless of you believing or not believing the, you know, interesting explanations as to what they felt when they were on it, irrelevant. Something's going on. There's already positive results from some studies they've done. There was another one where, I forget whether it was LSD or mushrooms, but they gave people who were basically on death's door, right? Doorstep, I guess you say. They gave them these hallucinogenic compounds, and they felt like they woke up the next day like, piece of cake. I'm not even worried about anything anymore. I was depressed. I was angry. I was questioning everything in my life. Now, totally cool. Let's hang out and watch some TV. So that means something. And if these substances have positive effects like that, the least we could do is change the categorization and research them and use them for treatment when necessary. But you guys know me, I go even a step further. I actually believe in this crazy thing called freedom, and I think you should be able to put in your body whatever you want as long as you're not hurting anybody else. Even though this may not be my thing, man. But if it's your thing, go right ahead. And that's final thing here is, it would actually be an awesome conversation, me and Joe Rogan, because he loves all the drugs that I hate, or that not that I hate, that I haven't tried, I'm ignorant of, and I'm scared to take them, right? He loves those drugs, and vice versa. So he hates the drugs that I like. And it'd be a good conversation because, like, I love anything pharmaceutical. Rock and roll, baby. Adderall, which is basically cocaine in a fucking pill. Love it. It's awesome. Vicodin, Percocet, opiates, fantastic. I've heard him bash them a couple times. Xanax, Klonopin, the anti-anxiety stuff. I think he's more averse to that compared to weed, which I don't like that much, right? And the hallucinogenic class. So it would be interesting to go back and forth on that. But either way, Scientific American is coming out now and saying, end the madness, let's look into these psychedelic drugs.